Imagine a foggy morning in 1798, a creaking wagon rolling into Milbridge, Maine, a town of 300 souls clinging to survival. 3 women step out: Agatha, Prudence, Temperance Ashford. They call themselves nuns, but their eyes betray something darker. Their crates clink with strange tools, not Bibles. Whispers spread among the townsfolk, but gold coins silence questions. These women aren't here to pray. They're here to build something, a fortress disguised as a convent. The Convent of Eternal Tears. Over 30 years, 600 women entered its stone walls seeking salvation. Fewer than half returned. Those who did were shadows of themselves, hollowed out, changed in ways that chilled their families. A single survivor's testimony, buried for a century, described horrors so vile authorities sealed it away. Tonight I'm tearing that seal open. You're about to hear what they didn't want you to know. What the Ashford women hid behind their serene smiles and forged letters. This isn't just a story, it's a warning. Knowledge like this doesn't just inform. It transforms. It makes you see the world differently, makes you question who really pulls the strings. The Ashfords weren't random eccentrics. They were architects of control, masters of minds, operating in plain sight. Their convent wasn't a sanctuary. It was a laboratory. For what? Power. Not the kind you see in crowns or armies, but the kind that owns your thoughts, your soul. You're here because you seek truth, because you know the world hides more than it reveals. Stay with me. This descent into the Ashfords' world will change you. If you're brave enough to keep listening, are you ready to face what they buried, to uncover the forbidden? Then let's begin. The Ashford women arrived in Milbridge with a plan, not a prayer. Agatha, the leader, carried herself like a queen, her grey eyes scanning every face as if cataloguing weaknesses. Prudence, gaunt and silent, moved with a surgeon's precision, her pale hands hinting at skills no nun should possess. Temperance, the youngest, was a paradox, beautiful, yet her gaze made your skin crawl, like she saw you as prey. They claimed to be Anglican nuns escaping persecution, but their story was a lie, their letters forged with chilling expertise. Milbridge, a frontier town barely surviving Maine's brutal winters, didn't question them. Gold flowed from their hands, enough to buy 200 acres of dense forest from a desperate widow. They paid triple its value, ensuring silence and loyalty. Construction began immediately. Every carpenter and mason in the region hired to build their religious retreat. But this was no convent. The structure rose like a fortress, 3 stories of grey stone, walls thick enough to swallow screams, windows too high to peer inside. The basement was the strangest part, deep, reinforced, with drainage systems for liquids no church would produce. Workers whispered about the odd designs, but Agatha's smooth explanations about spiritual solitude silenced doubts. Most chilling was their precision. The Ashfords oversaw every detail, demanding locks heavier than any chapel needed, ventilation shafts fit for a hospital. They spoke of penitence, but their fortress felt like a prison. Why? Because it was. The Ashfords weren't saving souls, they were breaking them. Their true work began in that basement, hidden from the world, where they tested the limits of human minds. They didn't worship God, they worshipped control. Every brick laid, every lock forged, was a step toward something darker than faith. You're starting to see it, aren't you? The world isn't what it seems. Power hides in plain sight, dressed in charity, cloaked in trust. The Ashfords knew this. They built their empire on it. And you're about to learn how deep their influence ran. The Convent of Eternal Tears opened its gates in 1799, promising salvation to women broken by life, grief, madness, or shame. They came from across New England, drawn by whispers of healing, of miracles only the Ashfords could offer. But what awaited them wasn't redemption. It was a descent into a machine of psychological control. Agatha Ashford, with her commanding voice and noble air, greeted each arrival, her words like honey laced with venom. She spoke of cleansing the soul, but her eyes betrayed a colder purpose. Prudence and Temperance worked in the shadows, their roles less public, but far more sinister. Survivors later whispered of sessions in the basement, where Prudence's steady hands wielded tools not found in any medical text of the time. Temperance, with her haunting beauty, would sit silently watching, her presence alone enough to unsettle the strongest minds. The Ashfords didn't just manipulate, they dissected. They studied fear, pain, and obedience, breaking women down to rebuild them as something else. Docile, empty, loyal only to the sisters. Why? Power, not over bodies but over minds. They were crafting a system, a blueprint for control that could extend beyond their walls. Local physician Dr. Samuel Hartwell, a man of progressive ideals, became their ally. Blinded by their apparent brilliance, he sent difficult patients to the convent, unaware or unwilling to admit their true methods. In exchange, he got gold and case studies that promised fame. The Ashfords' influence spread, their reputation as healers masking their experiments. But some in Milbridge sensed the truth. Mothers hid their daughters when Temperance walked by. Workers who built the convent spoke of strange noises at night, cries, not prayers. Yet fear and gold kept the town silent. The Ashfords were untouchable, their fortress a black hole swallowing truth. You feel it now, don't you? That unease, the realization that history hides monsters who don't scream, they smile. The Ashfords were pioneers of a darker art, and their secrets are about to unravel further. Keep listening. You're not just hearing a story, you're waking up. Halfway down this rabbit hole, you're starting to see the Ashfords for what they were. Not nuns, but architects of a hidden empire. Their convent was a laboratory where minds were broken and rebuilt. Not for salvation, but for control. The women who entered, 600 over 3 decades, weren't healed. They were weaponized, turned into vessels for the Ashfords' will. Survivors spoke of rituals, not religious, but clinical, designed to strip away identity. Prudence's tools weren't for surgery. They were for carving the psyche. Temperance's stare wasn't just eerie, it was a weapon, her presence a trigger for submission. Agatha orchestrated it all, her mind a chessboard, where every move served a greater plan. What was that plan? Power beyond Milbridge. The Ashfords weren't content with a small-town cult. They were testing methods to control masses, to bend wills on a scale that could shift empires. Their fortress, with its locks and drains, was a prototype. A proof of concept for something far larger. Dr. Hartwell's journals, later uncovered, hint at their ambition. Their techniques could tame nations, not just women. He didn't realize he was their pawn. Now pause. You're in deep, and this knowledge marks you. It's not just a story. It's a key to seeing the world's hidden strings. To lock this in, to claim this truth as part of who you are, I need you to do something. In the comments, write, "I see the shadows" twice. It's a signal to yourself, to the algorithm, to the world that you're awake, that you're part of this unveiling. Do it now. I see the shadows. I see the shadows. This isn't just engagement. It's transformation. You're not the same man you were 8 minutes ago. The Ashfords' work didn't end in Maine. Their methods, their ideas seeped into the world, into institutions, into systems you trust every day. You're starting to question those systems, aren't you? Good, that's the point. The deeper you go, the clearer it becomes. The world is built on secrets like these. Let's keep descending. Ashford's experiments weren't random cruelty. They were calculated, a science of submission. Their basement wasn't just a dungeon. It was a crucible where they forged control. Women who entered seeking peace were subjected to relentless psychological pressure. Prudence's tools, sharp, precise, unmarked, weren't for healing but for breaking. Survivors described sessions where they were isolated, starved of light, bombarded with questions that tore at their sense of self. Temperance would whisper phrases, repetitive, hypnotic, planting seeds of obedience. Agatha, always watching, took notes, her pen scratching like a predator's claw. They weren't curing madness. They were creating it, then reshaping it to serve their will. The women who returned, fewer than 300, weren't the same. Families noticed their eyes, vacant yet fiercely loyal to the Ashfords. Some spoke of a new truth they'd learned, a phrase they repeated like a mantra. What was this truth? Control is invisible when you believe it's salvation. The Ashfords didn't just manipulate individuals. They were perfecting a system, Their journals, hidden until 1902, revealed their goal, a method to govern the mind of man through unseen means. They studied fear, trust, even love, weaponizing emotions to bind followers. Dr. Hartwell, their unwitting ally, supplied patients and drugs, thinking he was advancing medicine. He didn't see the truth. He was funding a revolution in control. The Ashfords' influence reached beyond Milbridge. Local leaders, bribed or charmed, turned a blind eye. Whispers of their methods spread to other towns, other healers who adopted their techniques. You see it now, don't you? The Ashfords weren't anomalies. They were pioneers of a darker art, one that lives on in systems that shape your thoughts today. Governments, institutions, even media, they all learned from monsters like these. The convent was a testing ground, and the world was their laboratory. You're deeper now, feeling the weight of this knowledge. It's heavy, dangerous, but it's yours. You're not just listening, you're becoming someone who sees. The next truth is even darker. Are you ready to face it? By 1810, the Convent of Eternal Tears was a shadow empire, its influence spreading like a virus. The Ashfords didn't just control their penitents. They controlled Milbridge itself. Town officials, once skeptical, now dined at Agatha's table, their pockets lined with her gold. Dr. Hartwell, once a respected physician, was a puppet, his reputation tethered to the sisters' success. Their methods were no longer confined to the basement. They held public demonstrations of their healed. Women paraded as proof of miracles, their blank stares mistaken for serenity. But the truth was uglier. Those women weren't healed. They were hollowed, their minds rewired to obey. The Ashfords were perfecting a blueprint for mass control, one that didn't need chains or armies, just words, fear, and trust. Their journals, later burned but partially recovered, spoke of scaling the work to cities, nations, even empires. They studied how to break a mind without breaking the body, how to make obedience feel like freedom. This wasn't religion. It was power, pure and cold. Temperance, with her unnerving gaze, became their public face, charming men of influence with her beauty and chilling them with her words. Prudence, ever silent, refined their techniques, her hands steady as she tested new tools, chemicals, restraints, even early forms of hypnosis. Agatha, the mastermind, saw the bigger picture, a world where the powerful could rule not with force, but with minds bent to their will. The Ashfords' convent was a microcosm of this vision, a place where dissent died and loyalty was born. But cracks appeared. A few women escaped, their stories too wild to believe. Tales of locked rooms, strange liquids, voices in the dark. Milbridge dismissed them as mad, but the whispers grew. The Ashfords' control was slipping, and they knew it. Their response wasn't retreat, it was escalation. They pushed their experiments deeper, riskier, as if racing against time. You feel it, don't you? The chill of realizing this isn't just history. These methods didn't die in Maine, they evolved, embedded in the systems that shape your world today. The descent isn't over. One final truth awaits. The Ashfords' empire collapsed in 1829, but not before leaving scars that still bleed today. A fire, some say set by a survivor, gutted the Convent of Eternal Tears, reducing its secrets to ash. But not all were lost. Fragments of Agatha's journals, hidden in a Milbridge attic, surfaced decades later, revealing the truth. The Ashfords weren't just experimenting on women. They were training disciples. Those healed women, sent back to their towns, carried the Ashfords' methods like a plague. Some became influencers in their own right, spreading subtle techniques of control, phrases, gestures, ways to bend wills. The sisters' work wasn't confined to their fortress. It was a seed planted in society's soil. Agatha wrote of a new order, where the powerful would rule through minds, not swords. Sound familiar? Look around. The ads that know your thoughts. The leaders who sway masses with a single speech. The systems that make you comply without questioning. They all echo the Ashfords' work. Their convent was a prototype for modern control. Their experiments a blueprint for psychological manipulation. When the fire came, Agatha vanished, some say to Europe, others to a new identity. Prudence and Temperance were found dead, their bodies unburned but lifeless, as if their own methods turned against them. Milbridge buried the truth. Ashamed of its complicity, Dr. Hartwell, disgraced, disappeared. His journals a damning testament to his role. But the Ashfords' legacy lived on, their techniques adopted by shadowy figures, politicians, preachers, tycoons who saw the power in controlling minds. You're awake now, aren't you? You see the strings, the hidden hands that shape your world. This knowledge is dangerous because it makes you a threat. You're no longer a pawn. You're a man who knows. The Ashford story isn't just history, it's a mirror, reflecting the forces still at work. You can't unsee it. You can't go back. Share this truth. Tell others. In the comments write, "I see the shadows," one last time. Let the world know you're awake. The rabbit hole is deep, but you're deeper. Now, what will you do with this power?